I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 11. What's going to happen? What fights are yet to come?
We have so many ideas, yet we know so little of what will actually happen. So
Yeah.
they're really just empty ideas. They mean nothing.
Does anything mean anything?
No. Nothing means anything.
This is a very grim and depressing opening for one of my favorite shows. But I mean, it kind of reflects the world that we're in right now in this show, right?
If we were to immerse ourselves into the world right now of Jujutsu Kaisen, what is happening right now, I think
it's a pretty good
grim
reflection.
Is a good, reflection of that. The pandemonium of this world.
Let's see if this episode can lift us then. Ready? Sweet. Okay, that was Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, Episode 11. So, I don't want Ino to be dead. I can easily imagine he will be dead with the reintroduction of sorts of Toji Zenin, right? Now...
and a lot of other factors.
I have a couple of thoughts in regards to that entire interaction and then going forward. One... there is a little bit of hope I have for Ino since we've only seen 2 of the auspicious beast manifestations, right?
You're kind of cutting the potential, maybe at least for the viewer.
Yeah.
In a narrative way, you're cutting the potential. You're giving them this idea of that there are multiple things that you could see in the future from this character that you would want to see in action, and then cutting the potential before you even get to see anything.
Yeah, it makes me think okay,
it's a risky choice.
There's potential that it's you thought I was done. I have these 2 left.
Yeah, what if there was a layer? We know that once he pulled the hat down and it became a mask, then started the technique, the seance. That a lot of times what we've seen from this show is that there are conditions, and obviously if you say them out loud, makes everything stronger and better. But a lot of the sorcerers also have tricks under their sleeve or things that are there as a backup plan.
Yeah.
So
I would go as far as to say I don't think Ino has a domain expansion. He might have a simple domain, but I don't know what his capabilities are without the mask. I don't know if the mask is truthfully the reason that he turns into a medium, or that's a bluff, right? Because if it is a bluff, we have really nothing to go off of that it is. But if it is, that's a massive card to play, right? You give somebody okay, here's the way you defeat me, and then if they do, they'll be left with a false sense of security that they did without knowing that you could,
Right.
You had a card to play.
I think it's really interesting that we're having this battle between what would probably be more so a sensitive, a Reiki master you're calling upon, and then someone that's a physical medium that is able to deal with and actually call upon the dead for possessions.
Yeah.
I think that being introduced to Ino's technique at first, in terms of glitch. Audio glitch. In terms of writing, I feel the introduction of the enemy that Ino is fighting, having a technique in the same almost realm.
Yeah.
It's
fucked up.
Both, I think honestly, I think it adds to boding not well for Ino in terms of a writer writing this story and putting this matchup together, that giving a character this really interesting technique and then having them go against someone, that's some maybe possibly lackluster in comparison or technique not related at all. I think maybe that would, as a viewer, I would feel that might bode better for the character that we're supposed to be rooting for, that is currently introducing their technique that we've never seen them fight with before.
Okay.
But because it's in the same realm, it's can they both exist in this universe? Did one of them have to leave here dead?
So, I think that brings into question, the obvious thing in front of us being Toji Zenin, right? And his
He's
reintroduction
a very obvious
of sorts.
thing in front of us, yes.
Yeah. At first I thought it was going to be like a sort of half manifestation. But,
right, because we originally, when it first happened, there was a half face.
Yeah. Narratively, to bring a character like him back so shortly after we experienced what he was capable of in Hidden Inventory, that makes me feel a lot of things. On one hand, I guess it depends what they do with him, right? Because you're introducing taking pieces of bodies, right, with Geto early on, but you're also introducing the idea that the body of Geto still has like a soul reflex to it, where it has some sort of protection of control.
That's a nice a nice thing to bring into this conversation.
If we're bringing back the idea of taking pieces of deceased bodies, I would wonder if they play with the idea that, you know, Toji Zenin would still have a piece of his soul that's being brought forth in terms of his, you know, seance. And if that is the case, then I'd be curious to see how it would appear, because it would go one of three ways, right? Either Ino's dead, or Fushiguro and Itadori show up and nothing happens, right? And it's just, okay, we can call on this physical prowess of Toji Zenin. It could go in a way that Toji Zenin is able to recognize or hear the word Megumi or Fushiguro, put two and two together somehow, and at least or at most like has enough strength and control that he can like take back this power and nullify it. Or he is so fucking strong that he's able to just gain control of this dude and, like, you know, break out of it.
I feel like we could not have a repeat of what happens with Geto in front of Gojo, with the body responding to attack the brain, what is controlling the body. I feel like having a similar response of the dead body wanting to reach out and protect the loved one that is in front of them about to get attacked by their own...
Would be foreshadowing.
It could be, but I don't know. I almost could see... I literally know very little about Toji, but I feel like he might be the type of dad that wants to see what his son's got. Like, at least for fun, he might be like, yeah, I'm gonna protect you maybe later on, but you won't know that because I also want to see what you got, so I might want to fight you here.
In that same vein, I wouldn't think he'd want to be controlled by anybody.
Yeah, no, I could totally go with your third option, which was like he takes full control because he's like, F you for thinking you could control me.
Bro, as people, as individuals who are embarrassingly very well versed in knowledge in terms of the ghost stuff.
I feel like this episode was like catered to
mediums. Like, if that stuff was real, right? Depending on your viewpoint of that, it could be considered, depending on the work of fiction or life that you're living. That's a very fucking dangerous position to be in, a job to have, because you're calling upon things that you don't truly know or see what they're capable of yet,
and they're not necessarily like all controllable.
Yeah,
like if you even think about in terms of like demonology or something like that, they often would portray themselves or give the appearance that they could be controlled or called upon or trusted, but there's such an unknown with what you're playing with, that to bring up the idea that this medium, especially with the old age element, that she's been doing this a long time, she might feel like she has total control over this situation, but this also might be the strongest person she's ever called back or brought back in possession style.
Well, I'd imagine that she's never tried it before with Toji. Whether I would agree with that. I don't know if you can only use it once or if you can use it multiple times, but I imagine you're not fucking around with that while Satoru Gojo's around. But sidebar real quick. I fucking hate her. I have such a massive disdain for this old
lady, this grandma.
That's a nice word.
It is a nice word.
I hate her
grandma.
so much, and all I can think of is like the polar opposite of like SpongeBob's grandma like making cookies, and this fucking twisted fuck. I hate her. But narratively, right? If we're thinking that Ino, if there's a chance that he's not out for the count, because I believe in him, even though that if Ino's death was to happen, that last scene we got would have been fucking crazy.
Maybe there was too much foreshadowing for Ino's death.
But
so there's room to subvert expectations.
If Ino isn't dead here, it could be using the idea that where this old
lady
is
person
calling upon these spirits to almost do her bidding for her, Ino is calling upon the power of beasts and using it as his own.
Instead of like using the people, he's asking for help from these beasts.
Exactly.
There's a different relationship there. There's a respect relationship, and then there's a I control you and you do my bidding relationship.
Yeah.
That I think Ino's relationship and how they use the language of it for the beasts is very similar to Fushiguro's relationship, with his Shikigami.
Yeah.
He has this he cares when something happens to them. They seem to work with him. There's this respect relationship there. There's this care relationship there. He doesn't want anything to happen to them for, I think, a multi-layered reason, because losing them, is like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of my, techniques. That's part of my technique. But then there's also, the sadness that's there, as if you have to grieve a death.
Yeah. I loved the Itadori Fushiguro fight, man. It feels so almost like nostalgic in the best way possible, because it's been so long since we watched season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen, and seeing them interact with each other, or Itadori and Nobara, or all three of them together, and especially when they're fighting together, I miss it so much. It makes me I'm taken back to the prison, right? And how it ends with Itadori and Tsukuna and their conversation with each other. It's the start of the series, Fushiguro and Itadori together, and I love them just interacting with each other and fighting together. Their dynamic works so well together.
I think the most interesting part of this fight is how it differs, I would say, from season 1, but also does something one element similar to a few fights in season 1. Is this idea that, yes, you're watching something currently, and you know that these two people that are on screen are alive and possibly winning their fight, but you also know that there are other fights going on at the same time. And so you can't quite be like, yeah, we're seeing them back together. This is great. This is epic. Because there's also a part of you that's knows what's happening a football field length away on top of a building.
Yeah.
And so it's it's this weird dynamic that's happening with your emotions inside your body. And I think that it's honestly an experience that is purposeful for you to feel, because it's these two emotions and feelings don't want to coexist in your body, of being yeah, this fight's awesome, they're working together, we love seeing it, this is friendship goals, I love their dynamic, I love their relationship, I love how Fushiguro figured it out, and Itadori's impressed with him, but also really adept and can pick things up really fast, and that they work really, really well together, and I can be super excited for that and be enjoying this fight.
Yeah.
And then also be sinking into sadness at the same time, and worry, and kind of do we need to hurry up here so that we can go somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
But just that idea of that I was getting, I don't know if you felt it, that was kind of okay, can we please have Fushiguro and Itadori hurry up here so we can wrap this up quickly so we can maybe get back to Ino? But then I'm is that underestimating Ino, that he needs his two underclassmen that he was really happy he could be teaching things to come save him? Is that really what I want for that character?
I loved the idea that this person that they were fighting Fushiguro and Itadori has been around and is extremely capable and like horrifying in their own right, that
and they
it's
were
not
like adults when Gojo was born.
it's not like as easy as just, oh yeah, I can easily handle them or deal with them. It takes a little bit of effort. Like Fushiguro, it's also pretty funny how he's just able to quickly be like, oh yeah, it's probably inverse. Like that makes sense to me. Like that seems pretty logical.
Like when we think about the Jujutsu sorcerers that we've seen, majority of them are from Gojo's age range, because seemingly anyone older than that didn't really like survive, and that very few did, or working or anything like that. It seems like there's like a few elders, clan heads that we see, but most of the people we see are maybe in their like their 30s.
No, I feel like there's a ton of people older. Yeah, like whether it's the principal, whether it's the fucking old principal who's a dick from the other school.
Like Zenin, but like that's 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's no like reason.
Utahime, Mei, Nanami,
I think that's just
Gojo.
Yeah, but I think that's just the nature of being at the school and like following like the teachers in their lives, right, and their connections. Like Gojo was in the same like not year or class, but like he's around Nanami, right? Like I feel like there are definitely older sorcerers and stuff out there, like probably plenty, but I imagine that the bad ones, the only reason that we don't see a lot of them is because they had to go into hiding or completely change their life, because like, I'm going to reiterate it, the balance of the world changed when Satoru Gojo was born, which might be the coldest line I've ever heard.
Would give more of an argument to why there needs to be more strong people of both Gojo's age and then after that need to be coming to, studying their techniques and fighting the curses, because the curses also got stronger once Gojo was born.
Can you just like imagine having that about you? Like having that air about you? Like,
would you feel guilty?
No. The balance of the world changed when AutoSave Ben was born. Like that would like, no, I'm not gonna feel guilty. I Satoru Gojo. Are you kidding me?
Come on. Okay, so if there was like this before you were born, there was a curse and it was scary and it maybe like scared someone, like jump scare, because it wasn't that strong, so it couldn't really like do a lot of actual physical harm. And then after you were born, that same curse that all it could do was go boo can now like kill someone. I think you would feel a little guilty.
I mean, I think that it's just natural evolution, right? And progression of things. Like just like the guy said, when an Olympic runner breaks a record,
you shouldn't put the blame on that Olympic runner.
Especially when Gojo has done what he has done and taken such like a good step within his own world at trying to progress his own abilities so that he can protect and then
I think he's also tried to progress his society too, as a whole.
I like that. One of my favorite parts about Gojo is how independent he is and how he works. Like he isn't just like, oh, this is the good side, I'm going to do what the good side does because I and my family side with them and I have this prowess. No, he has his power. He knows what he's capable of, and he's going to make his own judgments, right or wrong, according to that. He's willing to fight whoever it takes to be able to defend whatever he believes is right. And I love that about him.
I think that he has a phenomenal writing to be like that character in the universe that everyone's like, that's the strongest character in the universe. He has great writing to be so, because he's not like...
He's willing to go up against Tengen.
He is like this balance in the universe because he's a very confident character and he's witty and spunky and he has little retorts. But the overconfidence, or I'm not even overconfidence, the confidence and maybe like the way he speaks aren't seen as rude. And I feel like you could go a direction. No, I mean like in a way that it turns off the audience.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what I mean. Like I can imagine so many types of characters that if they spoke the same way that Gojo did or acted the same way that Gojo did, and it just wasn't written maybe exactly how Gojo is written, that you would be majorly turned off from that character. You'd be like, this guy's annoying. You'd probably underestimate him actually, because normally when we're given these examples of very cocky, conceited, confident characters, they believe too much in their own abilities and therefore like we as the audience expect that they are gonna get wrecked.
Well, the reason that it feels so different with Gojo is it's not as simple as, oh, we know that he can back up all of his like petty confident statements. It's that we are watching everybody in this entire universe understand that he can back it up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he's right. Like they have he's exactly right with what he's saying. Like if it came from anybody else, like you said, like it could be, oh, this person's just overconfident or whatever. And if we were introduced to him in a world that not everybody knew what he was capable of, we might feel different about him. But the way that they're able to present it, it's like everybody's almost like, ugh, like eye roll. Like, that's Gojo.
I just think the writing of his personality, it was like an inch away from if someone else had like taken a crack at trying to write Gojo, he could have been like not a fan favorite in terms of personality. Like he could have been annoying. I find him like funny and entertaining, and I love seeing him on screen, and I love when he makes little jokes and little funny faces, and I find his personality extremely entertaining and kind of endearing.
I don't think I would like Gojo as much as I do if he wasn't as like outwardly independent, like I had said before. Mm-hmm. Like I think that's the thing that like
there's a lot of factors that go into creating that character that make him something that the fans really like.
Do you remember the moment you were like sold on Gojo? If there was one? Like I have different degrees of it personally. Like
I mean, the first episode of season 1 of Jujutsu Kaisen goes pretty hard with like
I think episode
introducing
2
him, but episode 2 definitely I think
episode 1 doesn't really do.
No, but like his introduction is nice. Maybe I'm thinking of episode 2.
I think like his initial fight with Sukuna, pretty great, right?
But
his fight with Jogo, that was like a massive display of power, OP-ness. You got to see his comedy, his ability to teleport with Itadori, what he was like as a teacher. That was like, I think that was my 90% sold on this character. But the thing that made me want to dress up for Gojo's Halloween was when he handed Nanami the piece of paper with a dick on it. That was my favorite Gojo moment of this entire series.
They really start you off strong with Gojo with how he treats Itadori, you know, both when Itadori, after the Sukuna finger fight from episode 1, and then once, you know, Itadori wakes up and he's basically, like, tied up. That interaction, and then once going and grieving his grandfather after his grandfather died. I don't think I could pick, like, one moment that sold me for Gojo. I think that if I wasn't already sold on really enjoying that character, I think that Hidden Inventory could have also done an amazing job at helping, you know, seal the deal for that. Like seeing him when he was younger and seeing him interact with Geto was amazing to me.
Seeing him in episode 20, like, appear before the butcher guy and then the principal reacting, don't kill him, and then Gojo twists every one of his limbs, like, 30 times over. God, like, I don't think that they ever don't deliver with Gojo. Like, every time he's in the story, he is able to completely just blow it away. Like, in this episode, he didn't, like, I'm watching this, like, little kid Gojo walk down the street. All I see is the back of his head. I immediately think of Killua, and then like he turns around and this lady is like 30 feet away from her chair with coffee spilled. It's amazing.
I think that he is an embodiment of exactly what his role in the universe here was, that he changed the balance. But in writing him, he is very balanced in terms of like he's intimidating, but he's not so intimidating, terrifying that you can't like him or want to be around him. And like there's like all these different relationships where both things might be kind of contradictory, or if you have this one element, then it's kind of hard to also have the other. But there's this balance where everything is able to like harmonize with the writing of his character and his personality, that puts him in the status both for characters in universe and how they interact with him, how students view him, how enemies view him, how his friends view him, and then how we, the fans, view him.
I had 2 favorite shots this episode, just on my first watch through. One of them was the focus pull early on.
And up to the tower.
It was, I just loved how early it was. I think that, like, the easy but very creative way to go about it is don't focus pull until they acknowledge that it must be something big. But I absolutely adore the choice that it pulled way quicker than that, like way quicker. I loved it to death.
I mean, definitely we should talk about. I loved it to depth. We should talk about the fact that we didn't even mention these three in our matchup idea predictions. So this definitely throws a wrench in who is going up against who. Because I think we might have ended with possibly Jogo versus Itadori, Fushi, and Ino. We were like, I think between Mahito or Jogo for who might be going up against those three.
I am pretty certain I didn't end up
I didn't write down our final.
Like, I don't think I ever said a final
It was mainly me.
I was like, okay, if it's Itadori versus Choso, then Choso, like, I don't think it would be Itadori versus Mahito unless something stopped their fight, because I don't see Mahito dying here.
Yeah, no, they would definitely have to have their fight stopped for some reason. Nanami's, I think, I think Nanami, I'm still going to lock in my answer for who Nanami's going against.
That's so brave. I don't, that's wild.
But they've definitely changed things up for me here with Itadori, Fushiguro, and Ino. I still want to lock in with Nobara going up against Choso, but I don't know, the introduction to, like, using Zenin here, using Fushiguro's father here, I think there are just so many new kind of different dynamics that are happening that I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised what if Itadori and Fushiguro get called somewhere else because they see something and they run toward it, and instead of them going to Ino right now, like, Zenin, Baki, and Nobara show up and fight Zen and Toji, you know, like, there's different dynamics that are already in this, like, society and in this world, and family relationships, family names, that I'm like, you could do so many different things here and there'd be reasons for it.
Yeah. I'm like, now that the fighting started, though, I just kind of want to watch it happen.
Oh, you don't want to, like, theorize?
I feel like last episode we were at a good point for it, because it was like, oh, who's going to get to Itadori first? Yeah, I don't think I could
actually, like, yeah, okay, I get you. Like, who was going to get to Itadori first?
Okay, I like theorizing when there's, like, ample evidence narratively to support, like, potential matchups. Gotcha. Right now, I feel like it's just shooting in the dark.
I guess I was using, like, family ties, what cultural or societal significance or family significance it might hold, or narrative significance.
Yeah, but there's no personal significance in those.
Yeah.
Right?
But isn't it funny that the people that ran to say who could get to Itadori first aren't the ones that got to Itadori first? That's interesting.
In my mind, like, the second they're moving up the tower is the second that Choso, Jogo, and Mahito start running.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
I think, like, that... I don't know... Like, for example, one of the reasons why I feel like I wouldn't want to speculate anything is because I don't think that any of the people in the current fight versus Itadori and Fushiguro and Ino have a connection with Jogo, Choso, or Mahito. If I could...
It doesn't sound like
if I could speculate that they did, then I would have ample room to be like, okay, well, one of them would have an advantage if they are tight with them, you know? Maybe, like, because of the nature of Choso, there could be potential for a connection there. But if not, then I think then it's just going to be whoever finds Itadori first, which I don't think we have any evidence to, like, put one over the other, you know?
I just have, like, one crazy question that I just want to hear how crazy it is.
Okay.
What would happen if this grandma had a Sukuna finger?
I don't think that they would let her.
No, but what if she found it on her own? Like, I'm not saying necessarily she had to be, like, given it. I'm just saying, like, what if she had one? With her abilities and her technique, and the grandson being used as this vessel for whoever the medium is calling upon.
Well,
I'm just curious. It could literally mean nothing.
Well, it seems like the nature of her ability is being able to conjure a dead human or curse user, not a curse in itself, like Sukuna.
Yeah,
I guess
there's just this idea of the piece of the body. That is why I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's a literal wild question. Like, I couldn't even see it actually happening.
So the reason that I replied in the way that I did is because what for, right? If she would have it and she would want to use it in any sort of way, I would imagine it would have to be in a similar nature to how we watched her use her ability this episode. And based off of how we watched her use her ability this episode, there was nothing involving bringing a curse back to life or invoking a curse. It was all like seancing a dead
You're
human.
right. I was only latching onto the visual idea of swallowing a piece of like a body part.
That's fair. That's true. We also get a lot of swallowing things in this show. Whether it's like Zenin Toji swallowing his, curse that like the storage room.
Yeah.
Or fingers or bottles.
Little vials that have pieces of dead bodies in them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I never want to go back to seeing the older man's younger years with the people he had in the forest. I never want to go back to that ever again. I never need to see it again. I know you might be trying to pull it up right now, but I really don't need to see it again.
I had mentioned that I liked 2 shots in this episode before we got derailed into talking about... No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying before we got derailed into the hypotheticals.
I'm really good at derailing.
One of my other favorite shots was Itadori going in for a punch here. Like, there's something about Jujutsu Kaisen, especially season 1, that it just feels like somebody had more fun. I don't know if it's like a manga panel or not, but in like bracing for this shot.
Is this something you want included? Would you want to show the video?
Sure, but I don't. Our keyboard isn't plugged in, so I probably won't bring too much attention to it.
Okay.
But when he's going for a shot with Fushiguro, it's very different. I think that most people would notice it on their first watching, though.
Okay.
In Wind Up, it starts at the base of his shoe, and the framing's so interesting because, like, the frame before this even, we're at 19 minutes and 2 seconds. So the framing before this shot was let's see. So it's right after
Fushiguro,
yeah, so this is why I love it, right? It's right after Fushiguro lands after like this other guy lands in for a blow, and Itadori interrupts the shot, right? This like shot of action, and Itadori's foot
on the
lands,
ground, which is nice because the camera was already on the ground viewing Fushiguro's interaction with the man.
Yeah. And it like the shoe literally takes up 95% of the frame, and I love it. And then from that, we're going back to the shoe after seeing what Itadori's doing, and it's just that first step that's breaking rubble, and then all running up with like lower body camera angles. When at a certain point in AutoSave, we were trying to get an animation done that didn't work out for one reason or another, but in talking to the person who was designing characters, it was it was brought to our attention of how low the camera angles are in this show sometimes, which creates such interesting dynamic shots that I don't think are present in a lot of anime. Like, it's like, whereas it's not like level, it's not above, it's very low to the ground. It's really cool.
Whenever I've seen fan art of Jujutsu Kaisen characters in like streetwear too, there's always like the camera angle of the drawing of the fan art is even dropped.
Yeah.
And looking up a little bit.
Yeah.
So their feet are like a lot bigger.
You know what? I think that if for some reason, Fushiguro is using Playful Cloud here, then there might be more. No, I guess Toji didn't use Playful Cloud. He used the chain with his tool. Never mind. Scratch that. Dumb thought. L.
I like the idea, though, that cultural significance, of personal significance, narrative significance. I love that Zen and Toji is almost more significant to put into the story here because of the fact that Gojo was sealed, but not because he has a son in this universe.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy. Like, you would think, oh, bringing in Zen and Toji right here is because Fushiguro is also a part of this, like, battle against these three. No. It's probably put here mainly because of Gojo getting sealed and to reinforce what these two older curse users bring up, which is like they had freedom before the introduction of Gojo being born. And when we get hidden inventory, we're getting Zenin Toji reacting to what it in that time period, what Gojo, even as a teenager, his significance was.
All right, that's all of you.
I think so.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you